Welcome, everybody, to The Realm of Ridiculous, the brand new and fascinating show starring the Adeptus Ridiculous crew, led by DK, listened to by me, Shy in the background at gunpoint, or more so holding us at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Great
She's
stuff.
not at gunpoint.
Where we are talking about Warhammer Fantasy. But before we get into this episode, if you enjoy this podcast and you want to see more of all of this stuff, check out patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous, where you can find posters, bloopers, and all kinds of other great stuff like Discord access and new Patreon-specific rewards. Check it out, patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous in the description, as well as Orchid8 also in the description, where you can get yourself some fantastic merch. Check it out. Check it out.
Love that merch.
So, friend DK.
Friend Bricky.
We have, this is our first, I guess, official foray into the new...
Yeah, this is the first episode of Realm of Ridiculous. So yeah, this is our, the other one was like, oh hey, yeah, we'll do a Skaven episode. We'll gauge what the interest is, and this is like the first here we go.
Oh, I haven't seen the new background. Wait, this is dope.
Yeah, I've got a little VTuber syndrome going on as a high elf. Yeah,
you goddamn elves. Am I just like a human fighter?
Yeah, it looks like you are just what's the human empire, Bretonia or something?
Check it out. Our game has 1 million new classes and characters. Me on my way to make my 19th human fighter.
Human fighter, yeah.
Okay, and then Shy is a dwarf.
Yeah, and look at that ladder she's got. Look at that thing, because you can't fly in fantasy, surely. I've been a little nervous about this episode because, look, man, I'm no expert on fantasy. I don't play the fantasy tabletop, so this is going to be a little bit of an adventure of me on the fly trying to learn fantasy well enough to teach to Bricky, who also doesn't know fantasy. Shy's probably the only one among us. Bum, 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 bum,
He beat me to it, no!
that has any experience with fantasy whatsoever. But, Bricky, I think we have picked the best starting point we possibly could for fantasy, and I have a quote for you. And I think you're going to get this. I think I am much better at picking quotes than you are, so I think you're going to be just fine. You ready for it?
I'm not even going to take offense to that because I think lately my quotes have been pretty bad. So I accept that. I accept it. But we'll see if I can. But I need to slowly collect a group of wins, unlike you. So we'll get there.
Oh, that's true. I started off with Elves, and I just rolled that snowball.
And
down
now
the hill.
you're an elf.
Elf.
All right. What's
Anyway,
the
quote. Amid the darkness and horror of the world splintering apart, the armies of the true Creator, who were ancient and at the dawn of time, will march forth once more. We shall sweep away all that is chaos and disorder, for ours is the true path, and none shall defy us.
Okay, at first I thought it was chaos because you said the original order, and I'm like, oh, primordial beings, the warp, chaos, etc. But you said sweep away chaos, unless you are referring to chaos as a concept.
Well, it depends on your interpretation, I suppose.
I'm gonna go with some kind of high elf bullshit.
Ooh, final answer.
Yes.
Bricky has chalked up his first L.
Really?
Of Realm of Ridiculous. Yes, because today, my bricked up friend, we are covering the Lizardmen.
Why would I have gotten the Lizardmen from that?
What
about that screams Lizardmen? I don't know anything about this.
True, but Lizardmen are pretty well known for being kind of the first sort of faction of fantasy. And one of their big things that we'll learn is that they really hate chaos. oh, brother, do they hate them some chaos. Like, everybody, most people hate chaos. Lizardmen, oh, boy. Ooh, it's my job to hate chaos. But anyway, we'll get to that.
I had no idea Lizardmen were like this. I thought Lizardmen were, like, really into themselves. And that's, like, part of their shtick. We'll get to it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lizardmen. Cool.
Lizardmen. Okay, so like I said, this is kind of like the perfect start point for fantasy. And I guess before we get started, I do need to mention that in this episode, we're not going to be talking about the Lizardmen after the end times and Age of Sigmar. In the future, we probably will, but since we haven't done an episode on the end times or like the start of Age of Sigmar, it's kind of hard to be like, well, here are the Lizardmen after, after this thing we haven't covered yet. So just for the first episode of Realm of Ridiculous, we're not getting into end times, but we will eventually, okay? So just any comments that are worried about it, don't be. We'll get to it later.
And I know we will at some point probably translate this into various like Sigmar style stuff as well, because there's like the fantasy times, and then there's like is that what Seraphim are? Are Seraphim Sigmar?
Seraphim are essentially, this is what the Lizardmen are like after the end times, because there's a bit of a weird thing that happens that
all right, we'll get to it.
When we get to the Seraphim episode, we'll definitely talk about it.
All right, so all right, the lizard. Wait, they're just called the Lizardmen.
Yes, at this point they're just the Lizardmen.
Okay.
And genuinely, their origin begins with the literal origins of the fantasy world. Like at this point in time, before the creation of the Lizardmen, you can just imagine the world as being in sort of this big, giant ice age. Like, it is just one big continent, and it is basically just covered in ice. I think there are prehistoric savage beasts that are they're all jockeying for the warmest spot on the continent for just general survival. It is an icy hellscape. And in time, a group of sort of highly advanced reptilian beings show up in their silver ships, and their technology is basically completely unknowable to anything living on this world. These are simply known as the Old Ones.
Oh, there's old ones in this place too.
Mm-hmm. The Old Ones are here too.
Okay, all right. Are they also like, well, I guess we don't really know what an old one is in 40K so much, but they were kind of like lizardy people. They were like frogs. Like they kind of looked a little bit like that.
Yep, the Old Ones are also a bit reptilian, super highly advanced. And the Old Ones come across this frozen hellscape of a world, and they see potential. Despite the fact that it's covered in savage beasts that know nothing except I'm going to kill you for survival, they decide that this planet would eventually be a really important sort of hub for a great plan that they had in mind.
Wait, this map, it's just like an AI-generated version of Earth.
Yeah, we talked about that in the Skaven episode, where it's like, if you look at the fantasy map, it is essentially just Earth.
We did, you're right. You're right. There's like you squint a little bit. That's pretty funny, though. Okay.
That's okay. I routinely forget stuff and make you repeat stuff on Adeptus Ridiculous, so I'm not going to hold that against you.
Well, I'm also just learning a new area. I got, if anything, fantasy takes place entirely on this map, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that'll make it at least a little bit easier to remember, because I know, like, where are the Lizardmen? Here. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that'll make things much easier. Okay, cool.
Yep. But at the current moment, this is all just one. It doesn't look like that right now. It is just one solid-ass continent. It's all connected, and it's just like this sort of icy hellscape.
Literally Pangea.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the Old Ones ended up putting these massive sort of interstellar portals at both of the poles of the planets, because that gives them like easy access to it. Like, no matter where they are in the galaxy, they can just boop, here we are, we're back, wonderful. The Old Ones would also use their technology to quite literally shift the orbit of the planet so that it would veer closer to the sun and help bring the planet out of its sort of icy shell and make it more of this sort of lush green Earth-like planet. Since, like I said before, it was just one big ice block continent. Next, the Old Ones would create the first group of lizardmen known as the Slann. And this first grouping of Slann is known as the first spawning. Now, when you look at a Slann, you might think that they're not really a huge deal, because, like, look at that thing. It looks like a big bloated toad dude, and it's like, how much of a problem could that thing create, right?
Well, he looks like he's casting lightning into the heavens, so I'm assuming it's not about his physical stature and more about his, like, psychic power.
Oh, yes, because the Slann are unimaginably powerful mages. Like, all of the stuff I looked up is just like, oh yeah, if they wave their hands, boom! Your city is gone. It is dust. Apparently, if there is an opposing mage, a Slann can use their magic and just be like, oh, by the way, nope, you're not using magic anymore. I've unweaved your spell. GG's.
Oh.
Yeah, and aside from the Old Ones, the Slann are without a doubt the most powerful beings at the time. Also, Shai, I have a quick question for you, if you could answer. I saw two differing opinions on the Slann. One was that the Old Ones first created them when they showed up here. Another was that the Slann, there were a couple of Slann that actually came with the Old Ones on their ship, and some of them existed before the first spawning. But there are so many, like, varying opinions on it that I... Anyway.
So basically, though, okay, so the question is whether or not, like, they came with the Old Ones. So the Old Ones are an interstellar species. They are,
yes.
like, okay, they arrive to this planet, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's whether or not they created they're not the spawn, they're the Slann?
The Slann.
The Slann.
SLANN.
But this is called the spawning.
The first spawning. Yep.
So the first spawning spawned the Slann.
Yeah, the first spawning of the Slanning. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just making sure I'm not getting that wrong. Okay, gotcha.
It's the Slanning.
Okay.
And there are actually some people that are like, well, the Old Ones are reptilian, and with how powerful the Slann are, it's like, did they make the Slann in kind of sort of their image a little bit? Is this like what an old one looks like? You know?
Sure.
Also, the Slann were also quite literally the only ones who could talk with the Old Ones. They were the only ones that were able to really comprehend the sort of great plan of the Old Ones to turn this once frozen, desolate world into something habitable and to sort of terraform it into what the Old Ones wanted. But the Old Ones are like, we do have this great plan to make this planet into something special, but there's a lot of savage races on this planet, and golly, they really just don't fit into our great plan. And because the Slann were usually busy communicating with and meditating with the Old Ones create another race of lizardmen called the Saurus. These are sort of your muscle-bound warriors. This is sort of your warrior caste. And these warriors would be tasked with basically,
genociding every other species that didn't much love.
Yeah, pretty much. They were gonna be the warrior caste, and it's like, hey,
wow, they're all beefy.
Yeah,
wait, hold on,
boys.
Hold on. The Slann are gigantic.
Oh yes, the Slann are gigantic toads. They are big, bulbous magic toads. They don't move much themselves, but they have like these big floating platforms that they just hover around on.
So we've got like unimaginable mobility scooter psychers being led by someone's going to try to fuck that muscle bound. Someone's into that. Someone out there is into
probably.
that.
Yeah, probably.
Someone's
I
into
think
that.
the big meme with the Saurus are like or the Lizardmen in general is I think it must be in Total War Warhammer where if you play as them they constantly go bok 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 bok, and so they balk.
Okay, sure, man.
So
Why not?
The meme with the Lizardmen is always just like, oh, they kill something and then bok 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 bok.
Like a chicken?
So, well, I guess kind of be okay. I guess a little bit.
All right. It's kind of bok. Well, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Shy, that's the wrong
ones.
that's the wrong meme. Shy, please post the one that looks like Rex. Thank you. All right.
Ooh, fair play. The old ones would also go ahead and make a smaller race of lizardmen called the skinks. So all of these lizardmen, though, are being born out of these, they're spawning pools that the old ones make. They're like these pools that have this primordial ooze in them. And essentially, a lot of lizardmen can just be like, they almost come right out of the spawning pool, fully formed and knowing what they're supposed to do. I think eggs can also be, like, left behind a little bit, but a lot of them just come out and they're just like, yeah, I'm a skink. This is my job. Hooray!
Okay, so 200 minerals, first part of the tech tree. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't worry, Shy. I will definitely get to that. And the skinks are kind of like they're these smaller, agile dudes that are actually really intelligent, and they're sort of there to help with the overseeing and the construction of the lizardmen's sort of temple cities. They're kind of like the foremen that are going to oversee and direct the more brutish lizardmen on what they need to do. And also these skinks are pretty solid in combat because they're fast, they're a little stealthy, they're very hit and run, they'll just and then run away. So they're pretty good. There are also the Croxagore that get spawned. The Croxagore are your just massive, hulking meatballs. They're like these gigantic bipedal alligator crocodile things.
Shy said, Brayberkey, guess which human civilization lizardmen are inspired by? Gotta be honest. I'm getting some Aztec here.
Bing, 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 bing.
Damn.
They are indeed Aztec. Well, how'd you know that, Bricky? How'd you get that?
You gotta have really good calves and quads to be climbing up all those steps.
I mean, that's fair. So they're very Aztec themed. Super Aztec themed.
So far we've got the slans, which are the giant psyker toads. We've got the skink, which are like small hunter, like fast, like stabby, annoying ones.
Very smart.
What's the name of the buff lizardmen one more time?
So there's the Saurus, which are like the sort of warrior caste.
And then you've got the chunky ones.
Yeah, the Croxagore. They're like your big, beefy, monstrously big, sort of crocodile, alligator-looking thing. And they are specifically made for, like, hard labor. So if you're building a temple city and you need, like, huge boulders or materials moved somewhere, Croxagore.
Okay.
They're also kind of dense. They're not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Okay, so it's a little ogre-y. Little ogre-y. Okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So usually they need the skinks to tell them what to do, where to go, who to fight, who to kill, all that sort of stuff. And naturally, the Croxagore, pretty good to have in a fight.
Yeah, so when you say, okay, because Shy posted an image of the Croxagore, and he's a big boy, but like, what did they look like compared to the other big, like the other faction, or not the factions, the other lizardmen, like, because clearly they're big, but like, how big is this bigness?
Shy, would you say it would be comparatively like a human to an ogren? Because they're big. They're really big.
It's literally like a crocodile that like on trend. Okay. Damn.
Yeah. When I said they're like big hulking crocodile alligators, I was not kidding.
Well, at first I thought you meant they were like the dinosaurs on the left-hand side of that earlier image.
Got you. Yeah.
Okay, so they're big power like warhammer like wielding, breaking
Warhammer?
stone. Yeah,
No
yeah,
way.
I know, but like breaking stones and crap like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
And as you can probably tell so far from the races, a lot of their creation boils down to the old ones being like, hey, guys, leave the Slann alone so we can tell them about the great plan. They can tell it to you, and you can actually make it happen. So they're trying to make everybody's lives just really easy. And in tandem with the Slann, the old ones have this crazy, like, it's a web of energy that encompasses the whole world. It's called the geomantic web. It's like this matrix of magical energy that's just webbed out throughout the whole world. And it's with this geomantic web that the old ones, I think, were able to change the orbit of the planet and move it closer to the sun. And the old ones were like, all right, guys, Lizardmen, build your temple cities here, and there. And if you do, you are going to amplify the hell out of the power of the geomantic web. And that's what we want. The Slann are also going to use the geomantic web to literally, this is how strong the Slann and the geomantic web are. They use it to take that once singular content and crack that shit into separate continents to make the map that you see today that looks exactly like Earth. They split a continent apart into all its separate little pieces.
I mean, is that like particularly crazy though, considering the fact that this is an interstellar race?
I mean, it's still continental shifting and breaking. Like they are literally playing God here.
I guess that's true. Wait, so have the old ones bailed yet?
No. The Slann are still in direct communication with the old ones. The old ones are still telling them exactly what they need to do and how to do it.
Okay, because I'm always assuming that the old ones are either going to leave or get massacred because the fantasy only occurs in one 40K. Area. Yeah, I'm just used to that. Well, in every single damn the late or the early people, the Zelnaga or the in StarCraft or the Prometheans and the Forerunners in Halo, they always like die or get removed somehow. So I'm waiting for it anyway.
I'm not going to say you have bad instincts, but we'll get there.
I'm familiar with this trope. So, okay. All right. So they blow up a continent and they turn it into Earth. Well, or not Earth.
They don't even blow it up. They just crack it, you know? They don't even have to blow anything up. The geomantic web just... and they
sure, but like,
split.
How long does it take for the continents to like shift to their new locations, though? Or does it not matter,
question.
Really?
I don't think it really matters. It's just that they do it, right?
Fair point.
And the Lizardmen would make their homes on one of the southern continents called Lustria, which is kind of like this tropical climate filled with jungles and sort of rainforests and stuff like that. So, the old ones, the Slann and the geomantic web, have got all this power. They're reforming the planet however they want, and nothing is going to stop them. There are several more spawnings of Slann, but the interesting thing is apparently only the first spawning of Slann could actually, like, communicate with the old ones. I'll talk about this a little bit later also, and I think Shai mentioned it in the chat, but the other important thing about the Slann is that only the old ones can make one. They can't just be booped out of a spawning pool. So it's an important note for later that the Slann can only be created by the powers of the old ones.
But the next generation of Slann cannot communicate with the old ones?
Pretty much. The first spawning are the only ones that have directly communed with the old ones.
And I'm assuming they commune psychically because powerful mages. Okay.
Sort of. The Slann love to meditate. The Slann love their meditation.
Well, are they meditating or are they communicating? Because like normally when you think meditation, it's just like meditation. But if this is like, oh no, it's communication with the old ones. What the hell is that image?
That is a Slan. That's probably what a Slan deep in meditation sees. Probably, yeah.
That's just
yeah.
It's just
That's
so
a
funny.
crazy image. I've never seen that.
Okay, so I really like that image because it just shows off all of the stupidity of Warhammer in general. You've got like this giant like overweight Aztec toad like communing with the stars.
Space, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. It just gets me, man.
Yeah, he's on some kind of boof pack right now, for sure. But this is also kind of the part where the Lizardmen are gonna go, they're going a little genocidal on essentially anything that isn't a lizard man, or, anything that is not expressly in the great plan by the old ones, or if the old ones are like, hey, leave that thing alone, yeah, lizardmen are gonna go kill it. Now, the old ones actually end up, like, kind of seeding the planet, so the old ones are the ones that actually help create the lesser races of, like, humans, dwarves, elves, and stuff like that. But it seems to me that the old ones kind of sort of want a blank slate for the Lizardmen to start with, and they just go on a, genocidal tear of sort of the prehistoric races that were there. So not quite the all-encompassing genocide I mentioned in the Skaven episode, because they will kind of coexist with these lesser races that the old ones end up creating and seeding the planet with, but those prehistoric races, yeah, they're getting wiped out.
Okay, but like these prehistoric races, they're not like advanced, right? It's just like a bunch of like Neanderthals and stuff, right?
Yeah,
and
like Neanderthals and the old school dinosaurs and stuff like that. So it's yeah.
But there's absolutely no there can't be any what's the word? Resistance though. Because
not.
Aren't these like just giant intelligent lizard races? Like they're basically farming.
Oh yeah, they're there is no resistance. None that I've seen. The prehistoric races are just obliterated. They stand no chance, and they are just gone.
Okay, I was honestly like, wait, this feels like pest control at most.
Pretty much, yeah. And the only race that manages to survive this purge, from what I've heard, are the orcs. Because I think the orc fungus, I think we talked about this, didn't we, Shai? Even in the Skaven episode, where it's like the orc fungus hitched a ride on the old one's ship as it was kind of like traversing through the warp. And so they also managed to plant themselves on the on the fantasy world, and the orcs of fantasy are just as resiliently impossible to completely wipe out as in 40k, so Lizardmen can't quite get rid of that problem. And so the orcs, I think, are the only race to survive through this sort of transitional period of, complete genocide.
I mean, do they still spawn the same way like 40k orcs do, where they're just like really hard to get rid of because they're a bunch of fungus and stuff?
I believe so. I mean, I haven't deep dived into the orcs of fantasy, but I gotta believe in that manner they are very similar.
Fair point.
So, things are going swimmingly for the old ones and the Lizardman. The Great Plan is in full swing. They're putting in the work. They have erected tons of temple cities in Lustria, right where they need to be. The heart and soul of their civilization is the first city that's constructed. It is called the First City of Itza. And they're helping terraform all the new continents. They're even, at the behest of the old ones, they're even kind of sort of helping the new lesser races make sure that they're in the right climate, make sure that they're, being raised up the way the old ones want them to. Man, this great plan is great! But much like with 40k, nothing ever goes completely according to plan for long. And those big-ass portals that the old ones put at both poles of the planet?
Let me guess. They just like turn them off and leave.
Nope.
Oh.
Well, they don't turn them off because basically those poles just explode and collapse on themselves.
Wait,
why?
Yeah, why?
Why? Nobody knows. Might have been bad luck. Might have been that Chaos is just like, old ones, we are sick and tired of your shit. Who knows? All we know is that they explode and they just implode on themselves.
They just like randomly, it's like, all right, it's gone.
Pretty much. But when these things collapse on themselves, these are essentially warp portals. And when these things go, they basically tear a fucking hole in reality. And now we are in a situation where everything is going tits up. According to the wiki, it specifically says that after the poles sort of implode, they open a gateway for chaos to just flood through. Just all the armies of chaos now have this big open door that they can just foomp through.
Oh, so that's one of the reasons why they hate chaos so much. Do the Lizardmen blame chaos for it? Like in the modern time?
I don't know.
Because I would.
It's just after what chaos ends up doing to them does not,
Oh, are they gonna be like, oh look, you know what you did to all the other races on this planet? Chaos is like, it's our turn.
See how it feels. Shy has a little excerpt. I don't know if you want to read it. I can read it if you want.
I'll go ahead and read it. Well, we're doing some role reversal here.
Ooh, wow. Ooh. Is this how it feels? Oh,
ooh, wow. I know. What's it like topping for once, DK?
Oh man, it's so foreign to me.
Sorry, that was really out of left field. I'm sorry.
Listen, man, I'm a VTuber. I'm used to being called the bottom. It's fine. You're good. Read the damn quote.
Yeah, I'm reading the damn thing. Whether due to enemy attacks or structural failure, the Old One's great polar gates, the means by which they traverse the stars, collapsed upon themselves. The Eldritch machineries. I thought it was machinations at first. The Eldritch machineries of the gates crashed down upon the world in a burning hail of star metal. Simultaneously, the poles of the world imploded, opening rifts into the beyond, and the energies of chaos spewed forth from that dimension of pure magic. So are these demons?
Yeah, we've got chaos, we've got demons, and from what I could tell, it is literally every Chaos God's demons are pumping through. So it's not a great time. Also, this is where the Skaven's favorite booger sugar comes from. Because when all this is going down, Warpstone is also shooting out of the portals and sailing through the sky and plummeting to the ground. Even better than that, there is a literal moon-sized warpstone that has hurled its way into the sky, and now our quaint little planet has a second glowing green moon made entirely out of warpstone called Morsleb. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah, whatever. And wait. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Wait. This moon-sized thing is now in orbit, or it landed?
It's in orbit.
Oh.
It's in orbit. Yeah,
oh, God.
They have a second moon.
Is it still there?
And it's made of warpstone. Yeah. It's a moon made... I mean, for the Skaven, this thing might as well be made out of cheese, because it is a big-ass hunk of warpstone. Yup, still there.
That's so fun. Wait, is this the moon the Skaven blow up?
Probably, because this thing is ridiculously important for the Skaven Vermintide. It is so important to them. And on more than one occasion, the Skaven have actually tried to be like, let's blow off chunks of warpstone from this thing. So they're big fans of it. But I'm sure we're gonna do a follow-up episode on the Skaven, and I gotta believe that specifically, I think when we do an episode on end times, we will definitely delve into how important old Morsleb is to the Skaven, the Vermintide, end times, and stuff like that. But it's hilarious. They have a new moon,
bro.
Make that a warpstone,
bro. It is literally laughing.
Yeah, it has a grin. It's laughing at you.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But Skaven, oh, big fans, big fans. Chaos also loves worshiping this thing and doing crazy rituals to it, and yep, they love it. I love that tarot card of it too, by the way. That thing looks so cool.
That does look really cool. This is hilarious.
Very Majora's Mask.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, very clearly, everything is a complete, utter mess. And so the Lizardmen look to the Old Ones for guidance. Like, guys, what do we do? They find nothing. The Old Ones are totally and completely just gone. And I assumed it was partially because, their portals exploded, so it was kind of hard to make, like, a quick return. But you'd think at some point the Old Ones, in their infinite wisdom, would be able to trace their steps back and give the Lizardmen a hand with all of this chaos nonsense. But they don't. They just leave the Lizardmen to figure it out, and I guess a part of me is also like, well, I guess at this point the Old Ones are like, well, great plan failed, no reason to go back. I hope you have a fun day with chaos. We're out of here. And the Slann are...
Wait, I want to roll this back real quick.
Yeah, roll it.
So the Old Ones did not die in a genocidal fire. They just pieced.
Yep. They just pieced out. They were just like, yeah, nope, don't want to deal with that chaos stuff. Don't want to deal with fixing whatever just happened. No, we're gone. Enjoy your life. We're done. And they never come back.
What dicks?
Yeah, super dicks. Nobody knows what happens to the Old Ones after this. They're just gone.
I mean, based on what the Old Ones, like, their power, it would assume that this would be maybe not a trivial thing to fix, but, like, no, this is instead their version of basically just being like, you know what? At this point, the cost of repair is too high compared to the cost of like selling,
fixing it. Yeah.
So we're just not gonna.
Yeah, we're just gonna find new property. We're gonna start all over. Bye-bye. Have fun.
That's so funny. Yeah. Okay.
They're just like, fantasy world, you can get bent. We're out. And so the Slann are one of the first to start taking action against all of this just madness. And the Slann, their magic is so strong that they literally use it to start shrinking these pole-sized chaos gates that are spewing demons and chaos energy everywhere. And even with how insanely powerful the first spawn of Slann are, they still cannot completely close these gates. They significantly shrink them, sure, but even just shrinking them a bit, that actually kills off half of the Slann. And to repeat the point I made earlier, every Slann that dies is completely irreplaceable at this point. Since the only one that can make a Slann is the Old Ones, and the Old Ones piece the F out, they can't make new Slann to replace the ones that just got oofed.
So Slann are, in a sense, like, when one dies, that's it.
Yeah, it's a huge loss for the Lizardmen if they lose a Slann, because you're not getting a new one. Skinks and Saurus can be made through the spawning pools, but yeah, the Slann, irreplaceable. So losing half of your Slann is huge for the Lizardmen. But hey, at least you have considerably shrunken the Chaos Gate and made your lives, a little easier, but this is still an absolute chaos hellscape at this point. Chaos is everywhere. Chaos is running roughshod. And while that really sucks, still, the Lizardmen, they're doing, it is called the Great Catastrophe. This event is called the Great Catastrophe for obvious reasons. So the Lizardmen, they're doing their best, and they're doing a pretty good job at kind of keeping chaos at bay, fighting them off at every front, just they're doing a pretty good job. And to be fair, at this point in time, the only ones really equipped to deal with and fight chaos are the Lizardmen, maybe the High Elves, because they've got a little magic juice to them. They're still pretty advanced, but at this point, it's kind of just the Lizardmen trying to go on this global, kill chaos roll. But the battle with chaos is basically never-ending. And while the Lizardmen are putting up a valiant fight, things just keep getting harder and harder and worse and worse. And even though they lost a lot of Slann trying to close the gates, the ones that are left are still doing well. They're putting on kind of this magic clinic on chaos. Because again, they're super strong, and like they're raining fire down everywhere. They're exploding stuff. They're really putting in the work.
So they're not losing, but it's not like a cakewalk.
Yeah, well, they're not losing, but they're also not winning. They're not really gaining any ground, but they've got this kind of nice stalemate going. But also, the other problem is with all of this new magic energy and all this chaos energy flowing around and stuff, it does kind of mess with the Slann's abilities a little bit. It becomes a little bit harder to control all their power. And there were a few instances of the Slann being, they're doing their magic, and they do a little oopsie-daisy, and their magic straight up kills them. Just with, like, magic psychic kickback, they just, like, explode their own head because their overwhelming power, with all this chaos juice infiltrating their mind, it just becomes so hard to control, and they just oopsie themselves a little bit.
The Slanns, you mean, I assume?
Yeah, the Slann. Not every
okay.
Slann, but there are examples of Slann just accidentally blowing their heads up because it's just...
Well, that's really, really bad, because you can't make more Slann.
Yeah, it's really bad. That's not good. So it doesn't happen to all of them, but it does happen. Not great when it does happen. And so naturally, given enough time, chaos is starting to turn the tides of battle because, they're just seemingly never-ending. And so they are kicking down the door, and Lizardmen cities are kind of falling left and right at this point, and the Slann are super desperate, and so they're like, okay, you know what, let's use our magic and let's turn the rainforests and the jungles around our cities into, like, living death traps, and the volcanoes spew up out of the jungle out of nowhere. The wildlife in the forest becomes savage. There are insects buzzing around that can just through the thickest of armor. Living vines that are just snapping everything, choking things, breaking your bones, quicksand, stuff like that. Anything that could be turned into a savage, natural weapon. The Slann were doing that in a last-ditch effort to stop the Chaos Demons from storming their cities.
All right, I hate to be it. So they basically just catechin their planet to be like, God damn it, chaos needs to stop.
Yeah, essentially they catechin their little area of Lustria. And like Shai said, it's also the fact that, like, not only do you have chaos absolutely screwing you over, but there's just this crazy amount of, like, new magical energy just flowing all over the place, causing all kinds of, like, craziness too. So, yeah, they have sort of catechined their little jungle area, and even with this Herculean effort, they put, a little damper on the Chaos Parade. The Chaos finds it a little harder to get through the jungle, and they are stopped for a little bit, but again, like we said, there's so much new magical energy, there's so much chaos energy, that the Slann, they can only do so much. And it's only a matter of time before the demons have made their way through the jungles, and they are now beating down the doors, or at least they're coming up on the most important city to the Lizardmen, the backbone of their civilization, the first city of Itza. And like Shai said, we are obviously focusing on the Lizardmen right now, but this is happening all over the planet, the whole globe. Like, the Lizardmen are trying to fight it on all fronts, but, like, there's only so many Lizardmen.
So, wait, but, like, aren't most of the other races dead? Or, because didn't they kill them all? Or is it, like, not all of them? Because didn't you say the elves were around?
So the old ones have seeded the humans, the dwarfs, the elves, and all those. And those lesser races are kicking around, but they're not, like, super advanced. And right now, like, it's, like, the only people that can really have a chance at fighting the demons and fighting chaos are pretty much just the Lizardmen and the High Elves. Those are the only ones that can really put up a fight. Everybody else is just kind of like running around praying. Actually, I think the Dwarfs are kicking around. And I remember watching a video. I wish I could remember who it was. But essentially what I heard about the Dwarves is they were like, wow, this chaos stuff looks really shitty. Yeah, we're gonna close the doors to our forts underground and just bye-bye. I hope you guys win. I hope you guys win. But I didn't really look too much into what exactly the dwarves were doing. But I have to assume if you are not a Lizardman and you are not a High Elf, you are literally living in hell and your race is getting absolutely bodied right now.
So, this is before the end times. This is, in fact, the beginning times.
Yeah, this is, this is not great for anybody, really. Well,
okay.
Maybe it's okay for...
So
anyway.
the chaos beats down the doors to the main city of the Lizardmen.
Well, so they're on the doorsteps. They
or on the
haven't
doors,
beaten
sorry.
it down. Yeah. Because even though they made it, it wasn't going to be a really easy city to blitzkrieg. Because Itza is being defended by literally the first Slann that has ever been created. A Slann named Croak. Isn't that a funny name for a big frog?
God damn it.
Yep, and this is literally the strongest Slann that has ever been created. Like, he is so powerful that he has erected a barrier around Itza, like this shimmering barrier of energy that is just so powerful that if a demon touches it, just poof, they get disintegrated. It's that strong of a barrier. Also,
God,
damn, his mini looks good.
Dude, AOS models go so hard.
Oh my god, what a mini!
They go so hard, man.
Oh man, sheesh.
God damn. All right. Holy. Okay, so he's got his big bubble.
And as you may have guessed, he can't keep this barrier up forever. It's too much of a strain to put this around the whole city, and eventually, he's just going to completely fizzle out of energy and just leave it completely defenseless. So, Croak decides that instead of letting that happen, and instead of just letting the barrier fizzle out, he is going to just explode his big-ass barrier outward as far as he can. And like I told you before, anything this barrier touches gets instantly vaporized. And since the demons are kind of crowding around the barrier, do you have any guesses at how many demons he just single-handedly killed by doing his little exploding barrier trick?
I expected you. I feel this isn't a trick question, is it?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm assuming a lot.
Yeah, he just single-handedly killed over 100,000 demons.
Oh, damn. Okay.
He killed a lot of them.
I find that ironic, too, because it's, like, obviously a lot and really cool, but also it doesnn't sound like much because I'm so used to 40K numbers of, like, 40 million guardsmen have died. Victory.
Victory. Good old... You love to see that Pyrrhic Imperial dub.
Yes, but okay.
You love to see it.
Okay. So, I actually was a little bit worried because I was thinking so much about, like, Tzeentchian crap. And I was like, I was prepared for this, and because of that, when he blows out the thing, we were ready for it, and then, like, it didn't work, and I was like, uh-oh.
Don't read that one by Shy yet. That's spoiler. That's kind of a spoiler.
Okay.
But I would imagine when he explodes out this barrier... Have you seen Akira?
You mean
the anime movie?
No, I have not.
Oh, because there's a scene at the beginning where Tokyo just gets, like, absolutely, like... And a part of me is like, yeah, it probably looks like that opening scene from Akira where Tokyo just gets, like... Well, there's, like, this big dome of energy. Just... But anyway, this is chaos we're talking about, and this is, like, peak chaos. So losing 100,000 demons, still not enough to actually put a halt to their advance. And while Itza puts up a valiant effort, the forces of chaos are making their way to the center of Itza, where Croak sits atop this just massive pyramid, still valiantly fighting everything off. And our boy Croak is like throwing fire from the heavens, lightning everywhere. He is smoting the forces of chaos as hard as he can. And while Croak is going God mode on these fools, again, at this time, there's just no stopping the advance of chaos. Like, the amount of insane magical energy, chaos or otherwise, that's swirling around the world right now after these portals are destroyed are like super juicing chaos, and even with this insane effort from Croak, it just isn't enough. And it takes, get this, it takes 12 bloodthirsters jumping him to rip him apart limb from limb until Croak finally
croaks. Let's go.
Sir. Yes,
Wait, no.
sir. Now you can read the spoiler.
Croak died. A dozen bloodthirsters, protected by the favor of their dark god Khorne, fought through the deluge of spells and reached the top of the pyramid. There, they fell upon Lord Croak's form, ripping him apart in a savage instant. So overcharged with arcane energies was Lord Croak that his spirit fought on, refusing to let even death hint. What a Chad. Set free from his flesh, Croak's radiance will soar above the ruins, scourging the invaders with a divine light that was like unto a second sun. The first city was saved. So okay, so his death was also his sacrifice in a way.
Yep. So instead of it being a chaos dub, because dude, we got the first city, hooray! It's just some fantasy bullshit where they're like, oh yeah, Croak's physical body, his spirit is freed from the shackles of his physical body, and he basically becomes a sun, wipes out literally all of the chaos forces around Itza, and even in death, Croak still serves. Let's go.
So I mean, this is jumping the gun, but there's a Croak model, but the Croak model is for Sigmar, so I'm assuming they've just changed up some things. And
probably.
And it's a different world, isn't it? In a sense, or universe. Sigmar.
Kinda. Shai has an explanation because I don't know about the Seraphon. To be honest with you, I haven't really looked into them. I have done old world Lizardmen. So Shai, if you want to drop an explanation in chat, hey, go for it.
I saw I saw when they revealed that model, that Croak model.
Such a cool model.
And I was like, damn, who the hell is that? And so him being alive but not being alive is a little strange. So I'm trying to understand.
If I had to guess, I would imagine they found a way to wrangle his spirit or something. His spirit was still whirling around, and we found a way to get it into a Croak body, and they rebuild him literally. Even in fantasy, they rebuild Croak from torn body parts, saw him together, and his spirit came back into his dead body, so he's basically a mummy.
I mean, all right, whatever, man.
Yeah, sure. That's not the craziest Warhammer thing.
That is not the craziest Warhammer thing, no.
Yeah.
Granted, they did that to Sanguinius. I feel what the hell? But in this case, just put Ferrus Manus' head back on. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, just sew it back on. Easy.
Okay,
easy.
That's kind of funny. I mean, I'm almost not even mad because that model is so killer.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Go Croak.
So that's all well and good for the Lizardmen, that they have managed to get chaos out of their little Lustria patch, but the rest of the fantasy world are still trying to somehow deal with the overwhelming forces of chaos. Luckily, the High Elves over in Ulthuan, which is if you look at the map, that's that continent that has the big hole in the middle of it, they were working on something called the Great Ritual. And to make a long story very short, when you look at a map or a depiction of the Warhammer fantasy world and you see Ulthuan, you'll see this big spiral of blue cloud shooting up out of the middle of it. It looks like this blue vortex. This was the site of the Great Ritual. And what this area in the middle does is, more or less, it's a big old magical vacuum that sucks up all of this extra nasty energy, all of this extra chaos energy, and just gets rid of it. And once this thing gets put into place, it swirls around and it sends chaos screaming back to hell, since they have no energies to keep them in the physical world. So they kind of have to
So it just like sucks magic out into space to like you're venting it in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that is a massive oversimplification of the great ritual, but I gotta believe that's going to be something that we will talk in detail about when we do specifically a High Elves video later. But again, sort of TLDR, a shitload of elves die trying to make this thing happen, but they make big magic vacuum and essentially banish a majority of the invading forces of chaos, and essentially the great catastrophe has been sort of quelled. So, things have settled down a little bit. Chaos, again, is it completely gone? No. But it is much more manageable now. And, as time goes on, the lesser races of the humans, elves, dwarves, and stuff, they're starting to make, bigger technological steps. Shai also says, so Bricky's brain can understand this easier. This is the Horus Heresy of Warhammer Fantasy, explanation of how the world went from being mostly decent to screwed up mess of wild magic, chaos monsters, broken civilizations, and people barely holding on for dear life in a broken world.
I guess my initial thought was like it felt more like the War in Heaven kind of explanation. But
I've
like
heard that from a lot of people. Yeah,
they
that
both
it sounds
kind
like
of
a
work.
War in Heaven kind of deal. Mm-hmm.
They both kind of work, honestly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
This is kind of the initial starting event of what makes fantasy, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
that makes
why
sense.
it was just why the Lizardmen are just the perfect first episode for this.
No wonder they hate chaos so much. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they make it their job to hate chaos. But so at this point, none of the other lesser races really bother the Lizardmen too much. I mean, there's a lot of myth and mystery surrounding what people have heard rumors that, that's the continent of lizard people. But because they live on Lustria, and the surrounding lands of Lustria are still pretty completely morphed into a vile, treacherous hellscape because of what the Slann did to try and keep chaos out, it's kind of hard to traverse those jungles and even get to the Lizardmen in the first place.
Have the Lizardmen kind of like learned to live with this area in a way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the new problem for the Lizardmen is that there are literally no Slann left from the first spawning. During the Great Catastrophe, every Slann from the first spawning had perished and died. And it was the only ones that had communed with the old ones and really knew the finer details of the Great Plan were the first spawning Slann. So another thing worth noting is that the Slann that are left, right, because of all the new energy and all the chaos stuff that was swirling around, that kind of penetrated the remaining Slann's minds, and it kind of messed with their heads a little bit. All that chaos energy kind of like, oh man, brain's a little fuzzy. I'm not having a great time remembering all the stuff that I used to. I'm not quite as strong as I was, but like, I'm okay.
Well, also, because there's no first-gen spawn, there's no talking with the old ones, even though they pieced out anyway.
So there's no talking with them, but also, they were the only ones that remembered the Great Plan as it should have been, so as you go further and further down the line, it's like, I don't remember what the Great Plan was. Do you? No, I remember basically pieces of it, but I don't remember how it goes. So a lot of the times, the remaining Slann are, like, deep in like meditation, trying to figure out like what's going on. Can I commune with an old one? Maybe they're hanging around somewhere and maybe I can contact them, or maybe I can glean divination about what I'm supposed to do. And a lot of the Lizardmen's time now is spent looking around their old ruins for plaques or relics or stuff left over that they can like, okay, we'll translate this old plaque and be like, oh, this mentions part of the Great Plan. We know what to do now, kind of thing.
Sure. Okay. So does that mean that because of all the chaos energies, do the Slann have like, are they kind of like weird to hang out with? Because do you mean more like they just forget things like the Great Plan? Because the way you said it, it made it sound like they're kind of getting a little like they're getting a little cuckoo. They're a little like, ooh, I'm a goofy man now.
It's not weird to hang out with them, but like at this point, a lot of times they're just constantly meditating and they're constantly in this sort of deep sleep state. So they're not even really great rulers, and a lot of times the Lizardmen get kind of frustrated because it gets really hard to wake them up sometimes. It gets really hard to like force them out of their meditation and get them to actually lead. So the Skinks at this point have kind of taken over the duty of actually leading the Lizardmen because they were the next in line. They're the next most capable Lizardmen. They're the next smartest Lizardmen to actually, tell people what to do. Because, again, not really the Lizardmen's fault, but since none of them remember how things are supposed to be, they get really kind of wrapped up in that. And also so the Lizardmen religion is still very much so, oh yeah, we worship the old ones. Every old one we met, we put on a high pedestal of literally being a god. Like, they have cities that are named after old ones, and they still, like, revere and worship the old ones as gods. It gets a little worse after the Great Catastrophe because they go into, like, these ceremonies, they do these prayers, even though the old ones have peaced out, the old ones probably never wanted that, and then they start doing blood sacrifices, and they get very, very crazy religious towards, like, the old ones and stuff like that.
Despite the fact that they just totally dipped on them.
Yep. Despite that, they still have just absolute religious fervor towards the old ones and the old gods and stuff like that. And, like I said, it should go without saying that the Lizardmen, if there is even a whiff of chaos, they are fucking pissed about it, and they want to absolutely obliterate it off the face of the earth. Another thing to note is the Lizardmen are actually helping the Elves maintain that big ol' swirling magic vacuum. Because the Lizardmen realize, like, you know what? The Elves and that big vacuum, that's helping keep chaos out. And boy, we sure do hate chaos. So they end up using, what little remains of the geomantic web's energy to sort of, like, kind of funnel some energy into that great ritual and help defend it. I'm pretty sure I read that the Lizardmen like to keep this hush-hush because they don't want to admit that they're actually helping a lesser race than them. So again, Lizardmen actually pretty cooperative, not as genocide-y as I made them sound in the Skaven episode.
Well, they were pretty genocide-y in the beginning.
Yeah, they were.
I mean,
in the
fairness.
beginning, they were very genocide-y. Yeah. But they get better. I can fix him.
Oh, they've learned. They've grown as a person. I'm so sorry for all the comments I made earlier. I was locked in.
Yeah, they were just locked in, man.
Yeah,
they told me to do it. It's not my fault.
They were just locked in. It's fine.
Yeah, the old ones told me to. It's fine. And this is kind of where the Lizardmen stay for a while, kind of hidden in the deadly forests and jungles of Lustria, where they sort of impossibly try to somehow comprehend the great plan and the wisdom of the old ones. And like I said, you could go years without hearing from a Slann because they are just so deep in their meditative sleep, trying to recall the great plan, trying to reconnect with the old ones and stuff like that. And again, Skinks, basically the leaders at this point. And for like a super long time, nobody really made any contact with the Lizardmen because, again, the surrounding flora and fauna of Lustria, too treacherous. There are a few instances of other races trying to explore Lustria, but most of them end about as well as you would think, with, them dying horribly in the forests. At one point, the High Elves try to survive these brutal, harsh jungles and get through them. But the climate, I think the climate of Lustria makes them like really sick and overheated. The jungle is just ravaging them, and it's just like, oh my god, what have we done? The Lizardmen eventually find them, and like the Lizardmen bring the elves to a Slann that's awake, and they're like, hey, Slann, are these guys supposed to be here? Like, does the Great Plan, do you remember the Great Plan saying anything about elves being in Lustria right now? And the Slann are like, nope, these guys do not belong here. Don't remember them at all. And the Lizardmen proceed to just beat the f*** out of them. And they let, like, a handful of them escape so that the elves can go back to Ulthuan and be like, yeah, you know what? Lustria, don't go there! Ever. Stay away!
That's really funny to me. This got a lot of humorous stuff where just the elves are like, Lustria, and the lizardmen just like, get out! They beat them up. Like, all right, guys,
here.
Guys, I don't want to go there anymore. Fellas, let's not.
Yeah, let's never do that, okay? Okay, cool.
So I'm assuming that the Lizardmen have very much adjusted and adapted to their new environment. So fighting the Lizardmen here is like fighting them in a hostile territory that they themselves know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You definitely don't want to try fighting with the Lizardmen in Lustria. Bad idea.
Something, Operation Barbosa?
Barbosa?
Shit, what's the name? Oh no, the history nuts are gonna get mad at me. Crap!
Uh-oh.
What's the...
Well, hey, we can move on and we can pretend like you didn't mess up a history thing.
Barbarossa!
I
was so
that's
close.
The other thing, is even though these things keep failing, people do keep going to Lustria because it has this very, like Shai said, it has this very El Dorado vibe to it where people know that there's treasure there. And I guess I'll talk about when that specific moment when the humans make their way over to Lustria. But it would not be a Lizardman episode if I didn't talk about Sotek. Because an interesting thing happens in the lands of Lustria. So they're still rummaging around looking for plaques, tablets, anything that they could really glean knowledge of the Old Ones from. Like I said, their whole belief system revolves around worshiping the Old Ones as gods. But there is this new set of plaques that had been discovered and found in one of their cities called Chakwa. And basically what these plaques said is that at some point, a terrible plague of two-legged vermin would infest their lands, that Chakwa and a bunch of temple cities would be destroyed. And when it seemed like all hope was lost, the serpent god would rise. The serpent god Sotek would rise and save the Lizardmen from this plague. And so, a lot of Lizardmen start, they're like, Sotek, huh? I mean, he sounds like a pretty good guy. Maybe we should start worshiping Sotek. It's a very skink favored idea to worship Sotek. The Slann, however, hear about this, and they hear about Sotek, and they're like, nobody ever told us about an old one called Sotek. No one ever told us about a god called Sotek. I don't know if we should worship that, guys. I don't know. That doesn't seem right.
New Testament and Old Testament havers.
Yeah, kinda. And so, obviously, as you can tell, this sort of prophecy tells of the first encounter with the Skaven. And it's not like the Skaven just immediately come bursting out of a hole in the ground or something. It's kind of like there's this slow, creeping sickness that starts affecting and killing Lizardmen in Chakwa. But, like, that sucks, but one of the more concerning things is that somehow this sickness has affected their spawn pools. And their spawning pools are getting all messed up too. Because the spawning pools, instead of churning out like, hooray, well-formed lizardmen, these like diseased and malformed lizardmen start just crawling out and just kind of slumping over and dying after a few agonizing moments of life. And naturally, at this point, the lizardmen are like, oh shit, we gotta figure this out because wow, that's gross, and wow, that's not good for us. And so the lizardmen start looking around, patrolling, trying to figure out, like, where did this disease come from? And why are our spawning pools all effed up? And when they're looking around, they find these ruins. I'm not sure if the Skaven destroyed this lizardman town and turned it to ruins, or it was ruins from the Great Catastrophe. Guess it doesn't really matter. But you know who they happen to find skittering around in these decrepit ruins?
Could they possibly be rats?
Oh, they could be. Do you know what specific clan these rats might have come from?
Ah, crap. I forget the clans. Is it the Grey Seer one?
No. So this is like a plague,
oh, wait,
two-legged plague vermin.
Wait, wait, sorry. The Grey Seers are like the leaders. They're not a clan. Is it Pestilence?
Yes, it's Clan Pestilence.
Yes, that's right. The ones with the the one with the cool hood and the giant scepter of death.
This is sort of where Clan Pestilence sort of comes and rises up, and they're rummaging around here, spreading their nasty plague taint all over. And the lizardmen are like, ruh-roh, this seems like the prophecy of Sotek might be coming true. And then the lizardmen did something oh so terribly stupid. Because they do manage to, for the most part, fight off and make Clan Pestilence flee. But they had the bright idea of, you know what? Let's take a couple of these Clan Pestilence Skaven hostage. You know, let's take them hostage, bring them back to the city, let's examine them, let's dissect them, let's otherwise study these plague-bearing rats, and maybe we can find a cure. Maybe we can find a cure for this noxious, disgusting sickness, and we can start breeding lizardmen again from the spawning pool so that they don't immediately die. You want to take a wild guess how that turns out, Bricky?
I'm starting to assume that maybe the lizardmen come out a little weirder.
Well, essentially what happens is that the Skaven hostages from Clan Pestilence, they brought all that yummy disease and sickness with them, and they were brought right to the middle of Chakwa. And so, essentially, the sickness and the plague gets 1,000,000 times worse because there's now a source of it sitting right in your literal backyard. And the sickness actually gets so bad that the Slan leadership of Chakwa end up getting sick and dying from this super disease and sickness that is now ripping through the city.
I love how they deal with the chaos thing, that you can't make any more Slan, and then the rats arrive and they're just like, let's poison them, ha.
Yeah, and with the Slan leaders of Chakwa anyway, all dead from illness, their own the illness that was brought by literally their own people, it fell on the skinks to actually lead the remaining survivors of the city, and it would be this a skink priest who is named oh boy, I'm gonna butcher his name. His name is Tehenhauen?
Oh God.
Tehenhauin? Tehenhauen?
Gesundheit. Is he the funny dude with the what is it, the tablet?
The commandments? He has to be, because he essentially becomes the herald of Sotek. He's got the plaques, and he's going around to any lizardman that would listen. He's like, guys, look at what happened at Chakwa, the Skaven plague. Look at the tablets. The tablets foretold this. We must appease Sotek. We must rise and worship Sotek to rid the Skaven horde from our lands.
I find it humorous that the teeny ones are the ones that are becoming like, because obviously they're the only ones remaining that are like particularly intelligent outside of the Slann, right?
Yep, they are. They essentially become the leadership of the Lizardmen. Yes.
So all the small like skittering ones have become the prophets, which is just really silly.
Yep. And another thing that these tablets and plaques say that if you were to slaughter and kill enough Skaven, Sotek would be so appeased that he would come down to this realm himself and rid you of the Skaven hordes.
And just so we're 100% on this, this is an old one, which have all bailed.
Supposedly, because these are, so they don't know if this is actually an old one or not. They just know that there are plaques that say that Sotek is a new god. He will save you from the Skaven. I guess they can assume it might be an old one, but oh, okay. They pretend it's an old one so they aren't called heretics. Okay.
Ah, lovely.
But, so yeah, the idea is they need to kill enough Skaven in order to sort of appease Sotek and make him show himself. Yeah, Sotek is the god of serpents. And hey, good news, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to kill Skaven because these little rat bastards start popping up all over Lustria and I think all over the fantasy world in general. Like, they're just popping out of their little burrow holes all over the place. And the Skaven and the Lizardmen would be locked in bloody war and bloody combat for the next 100 years.
Badass. All the small lizards are like, I hate, the gods say we have to kill as many rats as we can. What a great concept. It's like, God needs a body count. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I don't know how many specifically they need to kill. I think I saw on, it might have been the wiki that was like, yeah, it needs to be like at least 1 million Skaven. And after what happened at Chakwa, the Lizardmen are like, oh, bet, let's go. They're showing up all over the place. Oh, let's start the body count.
I need exactly 100 Nazi scalps.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
I think it's just practice, isn't it?
I thought it was practice, whatever.
Whatever. You get the point.
So Tetten Howen was basically leading the Lizardman war charge because, again, Slann are like, I don't know about this. This is kind of weird to me. I don't remember anything about Sotek. You say he's an old... I don't really know. So they're kind of racked with indecision. They're meditating. And so, again, it falls to Tetten Howen to sort of rally the troops and make them sort of fight and do all that good stuff. And after 100 years of blood-soaked war, Tetten Howen was like, guys... Oh, we know we know what the prophecy says about making sure that we kill enough Skaven, right? So you know what? Let's get all of our Skaven prisoners, and you know what? We're gonna make us a big-ass blood sacrifice to Sotek. We're gonna get as many Skaven as we can into this one area, and we are gonna have ourselves a ritualistic blood sacrifice.
How many Skaven were it taken prisoner? I'm surprised they even took any Skaven prisoner in general, because I thought they just wanted to kill as many as they could.
I did not find an exact number of Skaven that Tetten Howen slaughtered and offered up. But at the site of this immense massacre, there is a river. And that river became just completely filled with blood by the time Tetten Howen was done. This river was now a blood river. No more water. This river, it's blood. It's Skaven blood.
Normally I wouldn't be like based, but after learning about the Skaven, I'm kind of like based.
Kinda. The Skaven being evil rat bastards is kind of like, you know what? That's fine.
Also, this is like the Lizardmen have had a particularly great time lately, so...
Oh, yeah, they could use a couple dubs. From what I've looked up, after this big blood sacrifice was done, suddenly, like, the morale of the Lizardmen just bolsters, and from what I've heard, literally a horde of snakes manifests and actually goes into all of the Skaven little burrow holes and actually starts killing Skaven en masse. And it is driving them out of their little rat holes and really just kind of withering away their forces. So now Tattenhound is like, oh, dude, the Skaven ranks are broken, their rat nests are gone, they're getting torn apart by snakes, we just killed God knows how many of them in a ritualistic sacrifice. Bro, we are on the cusp of getting rid of the rat plague from Lustria. All hail Sotek.
Wait, so in a sense, Sotek actually must be real then. Or like something like that, because it worked and all the snakes arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In a sense. And then...
Shit, the skink with the tablet was right.
Yeah, well, and then the Skaven did the most Skaven thing ever. So Clan Pestilence knows that they're like super effed at this point, and they're like, dude, we gotta get out of here. We got some ships on the coast. We just need to bail, because this is bad. This has turned really bad. And so they're trying to retreat to the coast and make it to their ships so they can flee. But the Lizardmen, they aren't making things easy. So the leader of Clan Pestilence, a rat named Lord Nurglich, got one
wow,
that's
wow. Okay, lovely. We have Croak and Lord Nurglich.
Nurglich, yeah, of
all right.
Pestilence. He got 1/4 of his forces to meet the Lizardmen head on. He's like, guys, come on, this is a new strategy. You hit them from the front, and then all of us are gonna like flank them and do a pincer movement or something like that. We're gonna get him. And so 1/4 of his forces go, and they're like, ha 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 ha, yeah, we're gonna get you, yes. And Lord Nurglich instead is just like, idiots, and just leaves them. They act as a decoy. Lord Nurglich and his forces make it to the coast, get on the ships, and just bail. And he just sacrificed 1/4 of his Skaven army so this rat bastard can get away.
That's such a Skaven thing to do.
It is the most Skaven thing you could have done in that moment. Now, according to the skinks that were present, as Lord Nurglich and his Skaven were getting on their boats and sailing away, according to the skinks that were there, literally, Sotek himself comes screaming out of a volcano, and he is going on a rampage, killing the remaining Skaven, and then Sotek himself dives into the ocean to chase down the remaining Skaven who were running from the lands of Lustria.
I can't pronounce the Tehenhowen must be like the smuggest asshole of all time right now. He's just like, yeah. God damn, I was so right.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't, I somehow missed that point, Shai, that after the blood sacrifice, the skink worshippers of Sotek became immune to Skaven plagues.
Oh, huh.
So that's a big deal.
So what, do we have any, like, images of Sotek? I don't know if we have anything. Oh, no, damn.
I don't think so, yeah, unfortunately. And as you can imagine, after this, the Lizardmen as a whole, Slan and all, are just like, yeah, you know what? Sotek can be a new god. Yeah, we're totally cool with that. Yeah, no problem. All of us. Yeah, you know what, Sotek? Welcome to the God Club. I hope you enjoy your stay. And it should also go kind of without saying that the Skaven and Lizardmen now super hate each other. So the rat and the lizard, what a surprise, they hate each other. Shocking development, right? And just one final story here, because we sort of have the backbone of Lizardmen culture here and sort of what they've been through and what they're doing. There's more to them, but we could be here all day. So we're just one more story about when the humans made their way to the coasts of Lustria. Specifically, these are Norse humans from a place called Norska. I believe it's a continent to the...
Sorry. Sorry, just yeah.
And for the most part, when the Norse made it to Lustria, they stuck to the coasts because they found out, like everybody finds out, that the jungles and rainforests of Lustria, that's a good way to get yourself killed. Plus, the surrounding coast had plenty of ruins for them to safely pillage, and they found a ton of gold and treasures to take home with them. And for the most part, Lizardmen, they didn't care. They would care if they found out that there was a plaque in your treasury. Like, I think there were a couple instances where they actually came out from the jungle, and they were like, hey, give me that plaque! And then they let them take the rest of the treasure and let them leave in peace. But the problem is the men of the North were really, really, really greedy. And they legit start making settlements on the coast of Lustria. Like, they make their home on the coast. Lizardmen, again, for the most part, they don't care. As long as you don't touch our temple cities, as long as you're not messing with the plaques and the ruins that we're trying to find, if you leave that undisturbed and leave us in our territory, whatever, do your thing, don't care. We really don't care about that treasure. And the other thing to know about the Norse is that they were 100% chaos worshippers. And they started to praise chaos on the shores of Lustria. And they started doing some funky chaos rituals, and apparently it got so bad that there's this slan named Lord Jul that's like, he comes out of meditation and he's like, hey, something don't smell right. Something on the shores don't smell right, and I don't like that.
So, wait, these are so these are like chaos Vikings? Because there's a Norse in a way.
Yeah, they're kind of chaos Vikings.
That's kind of cool.
Just look at that picture Shy posted.
I was going to say that Shy. Well, when I first thought of like, no, Kislev is more like Slavic, right? Because I was thinking like cold people, and that's different. Never mind. Okay, yeah. Okay, so a Slan wakes up and is like,
yeah, something don't feel right. I've felt this before, and I don't like it. I don't like it. So they start, like, investigating everything, and they start, sending out search parties, and they find in some abandoned ruins, there is literally a demon prince that has taken up residency in one of their spawning pools, and it was trying to sort of marinate in this pool, and it was trying to heal itself. I think that I'm pretty sure I read on the wiki that this demon prince actually had, like, a magic elven knife sort of stuck in its side that it was trying to, like, heal itself from, because its guts were, like, glowing blue from this elven knight. And the Lizardmen try to finish the job and kill this thing, but this demon prince literally calls a just flood of crimson-colored demons that were really giving the Lizardmen a problem. So much so that the Lizardmen had to retreat, and they had to pray to Sotek once more. And believe it or not, again, their prayers are answered. And another sea of serpents, basically identical to what happened to the Skaven, show up. They turn the tide of battle, and this swarm of snakes actually completely covers the demon prince, biting the hell out of him, injecting him with so much poison that even this demon prince could not survive. Demon prince dies, all the chaos spawns die with it, and the humans are like, oh shit, we gotta get out of here. And that was the humans' encounter with the shores of Lustria.
Oh, the humans. It sounds less like the humans. The chaos humans. Really. Chaos humans, yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty decent stopping point for the Lizardmen. Like I said, this will most assuredly not be the last Lizardmen episode. There's still more stuff to go into. There's End Times, there's Age of Sigmar. In Age of Sigmar, they're not even called the Lizardmen anymore. Well, actually, yeah, they're basically not even called the Lizardmen anymore. They're the Seraphon, and a couple things change for them, but they transition into End Times pretty decently. So right, Shy, I think this is a solid stopping point for the Lizardmen. We've covered the important, like, world-shaping events of the Lizardmen.
So obviously my 40K pilled brain is like, okay, this is kind of like the Necrons in the sense, like, this is kind of where it all started. This is the contingent, the initial point of all the shenanigans. And okay, and so this is where interesting. So are the Seraphon are not Seraphon? The Lizardmen are still very much contained to Lustria, the land of riches. Come on, God damn it!
Until someone tries to come in and mess with them, they are pretty much self-contained. Yeah. Oh, also Lord Joel, that Slan, the Slan that I mentioned, he dies when the Demon Prince dies because he was like trying to fend off the Demon Prince's mental advances, and it was so exhausting that when the Demon Prince died, so did Lord Joel.
They gotta stop losing so many Slan. It's not.
They really do.
You can't replace these shit, man.
Yeah, you really can't. Shy, how many spawnings of Slan were there? It was like 5 or 6 spawnings of them, and then it's like, well, we can't make any more. So they're kind of a rarity. You don't want to lose them, especially now, But yeah, oh, Lizardman, buck, 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 buck.
Why do they have chicken sounds?
I'm not really sure. Yeah, like Shai said, for the most part, after the Great Catastrophe, they degenerated quite a lot, lost a lot of their land, their places of death trap in general, and they even found a new god in Sotek. Yep.
Yeah.
Lizardmen.
All right. Well, I mean, it sounds like they got out of here, like, well, no, I'm not going to say they got out of here relatively unscathed, but they got out of here with at least some dubs.
They definitely came out of this scathed. Definitely, yeah. They were scathed. Multiple scathings.
They were certainly scathed, yes. but they had some bits, you know?
Yeah, they survived. They're still thriving, question mark. Yeah, they're still good, you know?
Okay, we don't really need to go into thriving, but, like, they got a new god. The god is chilling, having a fine time, being kind to them, you know? Like doing what they need. They're doing their sacrifices. Are they still, like, really big into, like, murdering rats?
Oh, sure. They hate the Skaven.
But everyone hates the Skaven, though.
Yeah, but they're like blood enemies now, especially after what happened at Chakwa, and like Chakwa literally fell because of the Skaven being rat bastards, and they were in a 100-year war with them, so they are like blood rivals now. Because, you know, it's the typical imagery of the snake versus the rat, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they are like the top 2 on the Lizardman hit list is like Chaos, and then Skaven are pretty close under that. I think they would, if they could only wipe out one, they'd probably wipe out Chaos, as most people would, but Skaven are real close.
So if you were to be like, okay, modern day Lizardmen, like you're playing your Lizardmen in fantasy right now or whatever. Well, not anymore, I guess, but you know what I mean. You're doing like your fantasy currently or whatever. I'm assuming that a lot of your stuff will revolve around worship of Sotek, snakes, a lot of the skinks, or like a lot of the more character heavy people, and then like an occasional Slan here and there.
I would imagine so. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the tabletop, but if I had to guess, I would almost guess that like your armies would probably be very Slan based if you could, right? You would want like your main force would be like a Slan, and then you probably want a bunch of little chittering skinks, and then you probably want like big hulkers, I guess. I gotta believe it revolves around the Slan, because the Slan are just so fucking important, right?
I mean, I imagine that you'd have like one of them in your list or something, because it's like a big. I mean,
right?
That
You gotta have big old Croak,
dude. Croak's model is just so good.
Yeah. Shai says it depends on tabletop. Original Age of Sigmar, it was Slan as main figure and rest of dudes as support. If Slan dies, you're effed. Right now, they're more balanced. That's fair. I guess in Old World Warhammer, you probably would. Or at the beginning of Age of Sigmar, you probably would have Slan as the main figure, because that's kind of how they worked. That was like their main, like, you don't mess with a Slan will absolutely fuck you up.
It does make sense, like, general time frame. Fair point.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. I thought Lizardmen would be a bit more, because I thought you said before they were like really into themselves and they thought they were like the greatest thing of all time and they kill everyone else or something, or maybe I got confused with the difference.
Well, that was in the Skaven episode where I had a very not well-informed idea of what the Lizardmen were.
Fair. I've made mistakes. Fair point. All right, fair point.
I had like a one-sentence description of the Lizardmen, and I was like, sure, we'll throw that in. But yeah, they're a little different than what I mentioned in the Skaven episode, for sure.
More than anything, I find they're just like, I find their models to look really, really good.
Oh yeah,
and they
their
seem
mounts are so cool. They ride on like dinosaurs and stuff. It's very cool.
They seem pretty neat. I don't think I've been like converted. They're pretty cool. They're neato. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I'm like, damn, I love the Lizardmen the most.
Yeah, I'm still predominantly even at I like the Lizardmen. I like a lot of stuff that I learned. They have a lot of weird stuff, but I think I still like the Skaven better. I think I'm still a yes, North the Warpstone kind of guy. Yeah.
The rats are so funny. So I like
so.
Though I've never been like a massive like magic kind of person, so I can see like a bunch of magic. Okay, I will say though, the idea of a bunch of magic lizards is just kind of really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I will
Especially
say
the
that
Slime with their little hovercrafts, their little hover platforms.
Yeah, the mobility scooter toads. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, now go kill Chaos and Croak.